How long is the speech?
We have all heard a multitude of negative stories about zoos in the media. From Vince the rhino who was poached at the Paris Thyri Zoo, to Marius, a 2-year-old giraffe who was publicly dissected at the Copenhagen Zoo. Perhaps most notably was Harambe, an endangered gorilla who was publicly shot after a child fell into his enclosure. With all these events circulating in the news, why are their doors still open? Why do people still attend? It is obvious that zoos are inhumane and unnecessary. Zoos should be illegal worldwide due to their mistreatment of animals, lack of conservation efforts, and their failure to educate the public properly. Zoos are extremely negative environments for an animal to live in. According to BBC, zoos are unethical from a welfare standpoint because they deprive animals of their natural habitat, social construct, and companionship. They do not provide enough room, and they force animals into unnaturally close proximity with other species. Additionally, animals often become bored and depressed, and while they might live longer than their wild and free relatives, they also experience a much lower quality of life. The confines of cement pens and metal fencing and the unnatural surroundings of thousands of people, noise of the city, and other attractions that come with the zoo are simply inappropriate and inhumane for the animals living there. They do not provide enough space for the animals to live and display natural behaviors, nor do they provide enough natural stimulation. According to PETA, animals in zoos suffer tremendously, both physically and mentally. They often display neurotic behavior such as repetitive pacing, swaying, and bar biting. We can all admit that we have seen large cats pacing in their enclosures at the zoo, and while it might be exciting to see one up close, these behaviors are a sign of stress and agitation and should not be condoned in any regard. Perhaps the most common misconception surrounding zoos is their role in conservation. We have been conditioned to believe that zoos play a vital role in conservation because they preserve the population of endangered species. While some zoos do play a very small role in conservation, it is not enough to justify the neglect that occurs within their confines. Will Travers from Born Free states that only 15% of animals found within zoos are actually considered to be threatened. And that small percentage of animals are usually obtained from a long history of captive breeding, and therefore could never contribute to a reintroduction effort. Additionally, a study published by the Journal of Applied Ecology found that in 2011, only 5% of North American zoos' income went towards conservation efforts, with that number ranking closer to 1% today. In short, the conservation efforts that take place within zoos only benefit the zoo's population. Those animals, regardless of how low their wild populations, cannot and will never be reintroduced to their natural habitat. How is this in any way helping conserve the wild population of endangered animals? Finally, people may argue that zoos are important in educating the population about different types of animals and their habitats. According to a study performed by Freedom for Animals, only 14% or 41% of animals found within zoos were found to contain signs identifying their species. Additionally, people rarely go to zoos with the intent to educate themselves. Studies have proven that visitors usually spend very little time at each exhibit, typically only 8 seconds, and they spend more time wandering the grounds or engaging in other attractions. Another study performed by the Society for Conservation Biology followed 2,800 children who attended the London Zoo and found that 62% of those children did not display positive learning outcomes. These statistics are not evidence enough to support the continuation of the inhumane confinement of animals. Even if zoos could be considered educational, the argument can still be made that they do not provide proper information considering that the animals' living conditions are artificially created. Zoos are unfair to every animal within their confines. These animals have no voice. but you can help stop their suffering. In addition to refusing to visit zoos, you can contact your local officials and pressure them to enact laws to protect the animals. The suffering inflicted is not justified by conservation and education efforts. Don't forget about Vince, Marius, Harambe, and all of the others. They need your help as well as all the future animals destined to lifelong confinement.
Yay!